Comrade, Mother Russia loves the AK, but the bad guy is all the way over there. Don't worry, we've got an app for that. This, my friends, is the SVD. What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? This, what I am holding in my hands, is, as I mentioned, an SVD, or a Dragunov. It is not an imitation, it is not a PSL, this is a real deal Dragunov SVD. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you guys recognize this from movies, video games, you know, your favorite Call of Duty, back when Call of Duty was good? Now keep your hands raised. Now realize you look like an idiot, because I can't see you through the screen. You just have your hands raised wherever you are. This isn't how YouTube works. I talk to you and you can't really talk back, but you can't leave comments, and more importantly, you can subscribe. The SVD, or roughly Sniper Rifle of Dragunov, is one of the most sought after pieces in any AK collector's collection. Is this an AK? Well, we can get into that later, but what is more important is that it is sexy as fuck, and it is a perfect candidate for a beautiful montage. Be gentle with these magazines. They're obviously very expensive. Where were we? God, this is just a sweet rifle to shoot. So, well, let me show you a couple of things that came with it and whether or not this is actually an AK. So before we really get started in this video, I want to point out something you've probably already figured out, which not a lot of gun tubers on YouTube have videos with a real Dragunov SVD. There's a reason for that. You see, despite their popularity, of course, you know, video games, movies, stuff like that, the Dragunovs, real Dragunovs in the United States are like a unicorn. Very few of them have ever made it in the country, and all the ones that are here are very sought after. They are very expensive pieces, very rare, very collectible. It's not something where you could just like go to your local Bass Pro Shop and buy an SVD. It's not really how these work. And the people usually who have an SVD know exactly what the fuck it is, and they want to hold on to it, or they know exactly how much it's worth. I won't bore you with how much this rifle actually cost me, but I will tell you this. It would have been cheaper to buy a Barrett. But I felt like, being a huge comm-block weapon connoisseur, my collection could not be complete unless I had an SVD, so picking this up was really a no-brainer. I just had to have one. Plus, I figured you guys would really enjoy it. Which is why we'd quickly like to thank our sponsor for giving us the opportunity to show something like this to you guys.
And that is why I really want to thank Core Essentials. Core sells a bunch of concealed carry, EDC kind of stuff, but today we're going to be talking about their belts. It's a belt that's kind of set up for everyday carry kind of stuff. It's got a cool locking mechanism here built in the back of the belt, so you just kind of slide her through, and it locks. And then if you just want to release, you just hit this little thingy here, pull it right out. Now, obviously, if you're a little more tactically inclined, or you do 3 guns, stuff like that, they also have their cool battle belt rigs. So you have this inner belt that just goes into your belt loops normally, and then the battle belt that you're running your mags, pistol, whatever on, velcros to the outside, and then it locks, of course, using a similar mechanism. It's some cool stuff if you're in the market, and of course we appreciate their sponsorship for helping make this video happen. So if you want to show them some love, go ahead and click the links down in the description and in the pinned comment. Now, back to the SVD.
So the SVD, or the Dragunov, was clearly invented by a man named, you know, of course, Mr. Dragunov in Russia. That's actually not where this gun comes from. This is a Chinese variant known as the NDM-86. You see, there are really 2 types of SVDs that are found in America anyway. The Russian Dragunovs, like the Tiger series, and the Chinese series, like the NDM-86. Both, I cannot overstate, very rare and very sought after. They even had a couple different variants chambered in like a more American cartridge like the 308 or the 7.62x51. This one, however, is chambered in the original Dragunov cartridge of 7.62x54R, 7.62x54 rimmed, for her pleasure. As you may know, the 7.62x54R is also the cartridge that the Mosin Nagant is chambered in, and the PKM as well. So of course, with a belt-fed light machine gun and also one of the most widely produced bolt-action rifles in human history chambered in this cartridge, Russia had quite a bit of this ammo laying around, so they're like, you know what, we're doing a pretty medium to long range designated marksman rifle, why not chamber it in Old Faithful? Another thing I want to point out, just because I'm just geeking out, okay, this is really cool. I genuinely don't know if I've ever held an SVD before. And I picked this one up, and I'm geeking out over it, I dig it. This is a really nice piece. It's even numbers matching, like the bolt carrier here, you see that 1380 is matching with the selector, which is matching with the receiver. It's just, God, there's a lot of shit on this gun that is numbers matching, and that's just sexually exciting. Actually, I'm so excited, I think we need to relieve a little tension. So I'm going to show you guys the power of 7.62x54R the way we typically do with the White Claw penetration test. However, you guys have seen me shoot White Claw before. Hell, you guys have seen me shoot White Claw with a 7.62x54R before. So it can't be that exciting. So to spice things up, we are going to enlist the help of a resident White Claw connoisseur. Donut, would you like to help me out with this?
I love shooting and I love White Claw.
Good job, buddy. One round, Mason, make it count.
Ain't no laws.
I think you hit it. I think we had a little bit of power on that 7.62x54R. I think it was properly dispatched. Bye-bye. Nice work, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Good, that was good hood marksmanship.
Yeah,
right there.
I try.
So now something you guys may not have seen before, a breakdown on the SVD. Is this an AK? Well, kinda. In the way that a lot of other guns that I've talked about before, like the SIG 5.56 SWATs and stuff like that, you know, is it an AK? Well, kinda. You can definitely see where people draw inspiration from the AK. Now, what do I mean? Well, let's talk about that. So breakdown, first of all, you'll notice there is no recoil spring assembly button to take the dust cover off like there is on a standard AK. What there is instead is this little swivel button that looks like it should be a safety. That's a little counterintuitive by modern manual of arms standards, but whatever. You swivel this down and back, and then you can now remove the dust cover. Now the recoil spring assembly is in the dust cover itself. It's just kind of limp and yeah. Now of course, if you looked in this beautifully milled receiver, I might add, the fire control group is pretty fucking different. In fact, it's kind of whack. Not like a lot of other things. I mean, it's a similar concept. It's a hammer fired weapon with a similar braided recoil spring on the hammer there that is engaging the fire pin that is free floating in the bolt, like so. But it is pretty different. But there is something that is familiar, which is when we take this bolt and carrier out. So you notice, first of all, there is no piston attached to this bolt and carrier, and that is because this is a short stroke operated firearm. But this is basically like the bottom half of an AK bolt and carrier assembly. You take this this bolt out here, actually rotates the other way. This is for sure just a big AK bolt. This bolt is very AK, right? You got your stem, your free floating firing pin here, your extractor up here. This is AK through and through. And if you look at the bottom here, this cam groove and charging handle look very AK as well. Like everything on this part is very, very much an AK. The difference is when we go to the gas system itself. So the gas system is kind of like an SKS, so it's short stroke, but it's like a long short stroke because this is kind of a long gun. You have your gas block up here, which bleeds off gas from the barrel, and it hits a piston in here. I believe this is an adjustable gas block as well. But it bleeds off gas from the barrel when the cartridge is fired, bullet goes down, bleeds off gas, hits the piston, and there's a piston that comes out the back here and pushes on the bolt carrier here. This is while the bolt would be in the locked position, so this gets pushed back, it unlocks and rotates so that this can come out. It unlocks from the locking lugs in the trunnion that stop blowing up from overpressure, pulls out the cartridge, the casing, and ejects it out the side. See, we have our threaded barrel in here as well, and we have our locking lugs in the same place as we would on a typical AK as well. Instead of the typical barrel extension like you have on a lot of guns, like the ARs, the SCARs, whatever, like a lot of modern rifles, we have our barrel that screws in, and that is what determines headspace between the bolt and the locking lugs, is how far the barrel comes back. So is this an AK? Well, no, idiot, it's a Dragunov. You read that in the title, you know that. But honestly, there is a lot on this gun that, as you can see, is clearly drawn from the AK, but there's a lot that was done differently. A lot of things, a lot of choices that were made on here, like the short stroke gas piston, I think were done to kind of give this gun a little bit of an extra edge as far as accuracy is concerned. Long stroke gas piston, you know, may not be the best for accuracy, and I think that's why they attempted to go to short stroke for this. Does that make a huge difference when you're talking about a rifle that is chambered in 7.62 by 54R and shoots a lot of surplus Mosin ammo? I mean, this shit ain't a 6.5 Creedmoor, all right? You're not gonna get that kind of fucking 1 mile accuracy out of this thing that you would on a lot of like the fucking $4,000 bolt guns. But for the situations that this gun was built for, you can get good enough accuracy to definitely hit man-sized targets at, you know, decent combat accuracy, especially for a DMR roll. And what would help you with that is if you didn't just use these very AK irons, if you used something like, I don't know, an original scope, which I just so happen to have right here. This actually did come with the gun, and it is a very nice little can case here, where the optic has a little place specifically meant for it. You can see here, it's really kind of nice the way they did these old kind of storage or carrying cases. But this is an original scope. I don't know if it's original to the gun, but it fits like a glove. If you see here on the side, you have something that looks kind of like a traditional optic mount, like an AK would use, but it is milled into the side of this receiver. And so we have our lock open here. So we put this in here, slide it forward, and we lock this like so. And this is securely fastened onto the side of the receiver. It's actually an electrical scope with off and on setting, but this is probably dead as fuck, and the last place you can get batteries for this, I'm sure, went out of business somewhere in the Soviet Union in the late 90s. So yeah, we just use the etched reticle that is in the scope here, and of course you have to put on the eye cup for maximum drip. So with a good scope, this rifle has the effective range of about 500 to 800 meters. At least that's due to Soviet doctrine. However, today we are going to be shooting it at the you know, Brandon Herrera effective distance of 50 meters. Yeah, maybe one of these days we'll take it up to the, you know, this BRCC ranch over here has like a long range. Maybe we can do something with that, with clean or something like that, if you guys would enjoy that. But I just kind of want to shoot this with a scope and go home. So here we go, going hot. One of the other features I didn't really talk about is the last round bolt hold open. So I don't know how well the camera can see it here, but there is an obvious peg stopping this bolt from going forward. And that is because when the magazine is empty, the follower rides up and activates that. As soon as I take this magazine out, I can pull the bolt back, peg drops down, and it lets the bolt go forward. So if you swap a magazine, put a fresh mag in, pull your bolt back a little bit, and it will just slam a new round into the chamber. Neat stuff. So the SVD obviously set up in a designated marksman role, which leads one to question, what do you do if you have to get into a short range engagement with it? Do you take the scope off? What do you do? Well, luckily the communists had an answer for this. You engage la bayonet. Like we joked about before, that is one thing that the communists have in common with the Marine Corps, is the incessant need to put a bayonet on literally fucking everything. Hell yeah. That feels weirdly American.
Got a sniper rifle, why didn't you just shoot it?
I could have done that. We knocked that target over. You see that? The silhouette I was just shooting at? Completely fell the fuck over. Alright, so anyway, this is the Dragunov, or the SVD. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for this for a while, so it was a pleasure for me to be able to enhance my collection while also giving you guys something that you ask for, because I love you guys. I really do. Go ahead and make sure you are subscribed if you are not already, and if you have other range video suggestions for stuff that you'd like to see on the channel, obviously nothing's that off limits, so we'll see what we can do. Also, if you're not already following Donut's second channel, Donut Vloggerator, that is where half of you got this video spoiled. So go ahead and make sure you subscribe to him, you're subscribed to me, and as always, I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon, like Rasputin's rise to the top.
Let's see how zeroed this thing is. I'm gonna go for that small plate of steel. I don't think I hit it. Whatever, fuck it. I'll just go for the silhouette. This thing is, you know, God knows 20, 30 years old, and I've never zeroed this, and I just threw that scope on. So that's how we do it here. But it's, you know, it'll kill man-sized targets. It's out of fucking ammo. God damn it. Stop trying to make White Claw sponsorship happen. It's never going to happen.